Executive Protection and the Family Office. This week, we're going to hear from Kate Bright, founder of UMBRA International. She's made the transition between PA and Executive Protection.
Welcome to the Circuit Magazine, the #1 source of information on protection matters, the industry-leading magazine for all security professionals who want to stay ahead of the game.
Welcome to the Circuit Magazine podcast. Pelham Rowe here, joined with Sean West, John Moss, and Elijah Shaw. This week, we're talking ultra-high net worth individuals, the family office, and executive protection. We're going to be hearing from Kate Bright, founder of UMBRA International, on her journey from PA to executive protection. What a jump. Elijah, what's that like? What's the difference between working for a corporation and working for a family office or ultra high net worth individual?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this episode here. I spend a lot of time. I've got a client that is a private family. And so I see a lot of the challenges that are there. But those are some unique challenges compared to some of my corporate clients, et cetera. So it's about kind of threading that needle, being able to be personable with the family, but at the same time being professional. So it's challenging.
Challenging indeed. And I think Kate goes into that. And it's a very delicate balance between being professional and being their friend. Maybe you don't want to achieve both. John, what are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts on the family office, first of all, it's a necessary evil for most CP, EP professionals, right? Especially when you're starting out working for a high net worth. It might come as quite a surprise to you to find that there's a whole tier of hierarchy between you and the principal. And trust me, you might not realize this, but you're in that hierarchy and you're probably not where you think you are. So when you first discover this, it can be a bit of a blow to the ego. And the worst thing that you can do is really push back. What I think you've got to do is try to get in there, try to build a rapport, try to work with these people to understand their pain points, and then they might start listening to yours and seeing things from your perspective. It's very hard for anybody who's sat in an office to try to understand the pain points of an EP professional traveling around the world on private jets, staying in 5-star hotels and on luxury yachts. It's really hard for them to understand what your pain points are.
And that's perhaps what makes Kate so special. I know Kate wrote a famous article, well, now famous article, about that transition between PA and EP, because of course you can understand that hierarchy a little bit better. And as you say, you might be hanging around with a billionaire, but you must remember that you yourself are not a billionaire. It's quite a key thing, which obviously is obvious for most people, but it can be quite intoxicating, I can imagine. Sean, obviously working in a family office has its own nuances. What's your perspective? Why is it different to work in a family office as opposed to, some sort of corporate client?
There's a huge difference with working with a family office to corporate clients. One of the main differences is working in a family office, personalities come into play. In a corporate office, you can say no to the workforce or individuals of that corporation. But when you're saying to billionaire's teenage son, no, you can't do this, when they're not used to being told no, it's a different ballgame. And that's why I'm looking forward to hearing from Kate. She's traversed both worlds of being a PA and being an executive protection officer, so she's going to have some really good takeaways.
Absolutely. No, Kate will be brilliant. And of course, it's wonderful to see the pages of the Circuit magazine brought to life so many years after her initial article. John, that went down well then, and we just republished it on social media recently. It's done really well, hasn't it?
Yeah, of course. It's an unusual story, isn't it? It's not one you read about every day. And it still surprises me now. And actually, the more time that's passed since then, and to see the direction in which Kate has gone, it surprises me even more. I mean, Kate is somebody who stood on the stage at a TEDx talk. She now sits in the chair of the SIA, the governing body of the industry. And so to think that she started out as a PA, but understood there was another aspect to providing a high level of service for the principal that she didn't understand and threw herself on this course. I think it's fantastic and should be applauded.
Fantastic. Well, Let's reach out to Kate now. Let's hear from her and discover that journey from PA to executive protection.
And now, let's meet one of the contributors to the Circuit magazine.
Hello, we're here with Kate Bright, CEO and founder of UMBRA International. It's a pleasure to welcome you. You've written for the Circuit magazine before, and it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. Yes, I'm very well, thank you.
For those of people out there that haven't read your article and maybe don't yet know you, can you give us a little bit of an intro about yourself and set the scene as to how you came into the world of CP?
Yeah, sure. So actually rereading my article from all those years ago online, it actually reminded me that I'd set out a pretty high bar of what I wanted to try and achieve. But following on from that article, which you can still see online, I guess the next phase from that article is that I left working within the family environment, the operative environment, and set up the business. And I always say that the business sort of set itself up because originally I had really hoped that the business was going to solely focus on the provision of female operatives. But I soon realized that there was much more of a broader market for a more accessible form of security in the broader context. So the time I've spent since that article came out to today has been growing and building the business and our international partnerships. And also for me personally, my journey hasn't stopped there. It's now my non-exec career path and being able to now sit at various different tables where I can actually help with a sort of governance and help to spread more of a sort of a positive message and champion industry more broadly. So, it's been a busy few years, all told.
So, Kate, from being a personal assistant, working for a family office and booking security, what's been the biggest challenge you've faced in moving from an end customer to a provider?
So I think the easy part of working with security is when you don't necessarily know what you are buying and you are given what you're buying. And I think that definitely from 2000 to 2015, I relied on my network very heavily to make sure that it was compliant, that it was the standards were the highest they could possibly be, that it was risk appropriate, that it was matching my clients' really quite specific demands. And I guess seeing the other side of the fence, and certainly from having undergone the training, that from that moment in 2013, I had a completely different perspective on what it was that made a really good team for my sort of clients. I guess the biggest surprises or the biggest shocks for me is that there's still not more of my private office community that are seeking. But I'm very much a seeker. I'm never sort of looking at something in one way and saying that's okay. I'll look at it above the bonnet and below the bonnet. So those are my sort of the biggest differences, I guess, of seeing life on both sides, and also similarly, I would say how difficult it is to work with my former community. It can be quite an impenetrable world, and certainly the role of the right hand PA, executive assistant, chief of staff, the terminology has changed. So, the need to present information to those individuals has changed and evolved. And so for me, it's actually keeping up with my former colleagues on the client side to see how best to support them with the sort of information that they need to present to their principals and bosses.
Awesome. Well, I love conjuring up images of family offices and all their quirks and all their differences. Obviously, there's a massive spectrum. Not everyone, like you, Kate, is a seeker, as you so well put it. I used to know some in Dubai, and my friends would have to suddenly go on a plane to buy the new iPhone. Crazy stories. But those crazy stories don't stereotypically mean that we think of family offices understanding security. It's not that they don't. It's that perhaps it's given us this image that they're into crazy individualistic pursuits. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But are family offices equipped to face today's security challenges?
That's a big question. I'd answer that in the sort of almost Politico style. Once you know one family office, you know one family office. I think very much representative of the flavour and the culture and the personality of the sort of the top of the tree. I mean, firstly, what are we meaning by family office, and the various different structures that sit underneath, whether that's a multi-family office or trust structure at the top, and then, as you say, the people like myself in the private office function who are doing the running around getting Nintendos and finding the next latest sort of handbag and all of the sort of lifestyle related things. And I think, are they equipped? Well, I think the majority, I would say, could always do with a little bit more proactive mindset living rather than reactive mindset living. And I would say that there is a high chance within a lot of the family situations and scenarios that I've worked in that security does actually have the best relationship with the ultimate principle. And therefore, I'm the function that's going to save your life is a pretty compelling argument. Long answer to your short question. I mean, is anyone prepared for security post what's happened this year? Your original question was, are they prepared? Right? Risks are evolving all the time, and I think this year more so than any says that we all need to shift into proactive and preemptive mindset for any of us advising or around that sort of inner team. It's not about who's got the ear and who has the most power. It's actually the collective effort of all of the parts of the puzzle around that protective infrastructure. So I think it more so than ever, it's got to be a collegiate effort, and that security could be its moment, because it could draw all those strands together and actually lead from the front and say, we have the expertise, even if coming from the physical security. I would say that this is an opportunity, particularly within the close protection function, heads of security to really take the reins and incorporate a lot of the sort of digital transformation that's going to need to happen in the next few years for most family offices to survive and thrive.
So Kate, you're involved with supporting the profile of women in the security industry. What's your end goal with that, and how can we help?
So I think it's a bit of a de facto one, actually, Sean. I happen to be a woman. I am that person that a lot of women come to when they're coming into the industry, just because I've set my stall out as someone that's gone through this particular journey. I'd love to see more female role models standing up and talking about their journey. The irony is, obviously, as operational as you are, it's not something you necessarily want to talk about in the public domain. So there's that challenge as well. But I think there's enough individuals now and enough amazing women coming through, and some women who've gone on to then have children who could now talk about and support and really sort of champion, particularly for the younger generations of women coming through from school, to say, from school, security is a career path. The great work of the Security Institute, for example, a lot of the other bodies that are really pushing this forward. How can you guys help? I think keeping telling these stories. My story is non-linear, but there are plenty of other men and women out there that are all looking at this standards piece as the sum of the parts of the diverse individuals that are involved with it. I want to hear everyone's story, how they got into the industry, and then you'll find people finding their points of resonance with each of those individuals, and by default, you'll then encourage more people to come into the industry that wouldn't have otherwise thought about it.
Love it. And of course, it makes business sense. When we include a more diverse speaker faculty for an event, we gain a larger audience. In my mind, it just makes sense.
It's got to be underpinned by good commercials. Is it good for the industry? Is it good for the ultimate delivery to the client? And in my personal experience and the way I see the industry needing to move forward, I can only see a benefit. I'm happy to be challenged on any of the bigger picture challenges that the industry faces. But I think it's an industry that is unsung as to those individuals that we haven't yet managed to speak to that could be really useful and valuable resources to deliver really, really good security to our clients.
Perfect. Well, we're talking about delivering good security and the family office world. Quite often, when an individual operator or a company full of operators thinks, where should I go next to purvey, my close protection? They think family office, but a lot of them don't seem to gel well. They don't seem to get it right. They seem to think, I will simply ring up a bunch of family offices and my career path will be successful. And it doesn't seem to turn out that way. So my question for them and for everybody, what do you want the close protection industry to better understand about working with family offices?
I think I'd probably go back to the once one family office, one family office. And I'd also add to that, I would be slightly concerned, but it's like when I would be contacted by people who wanted to be a PA to a celebrity. It always sort of rang a bell in my head of thinking, my God, if I could go through all of this again, would I want to work for somebody to deliberately target somebody who's in the public eye, takes a certain kind of personality? That's no judgment, but that in itself is quite a statement. I want to work for someone in the public eye. I think that it's you end up working within it if you're working with the sort of people in your network who are also working within it. And the great thing about a lot of the ex-military, ex-Royal Protection, ex-law enforcement communities is that they are a community. And I think that the networking amongst people that you like to be around is a great basis for working on a great team. If you're working on a great team, you're more than likely going to have a great structure and therefore a great ultimate boss, or you're going to have a great team leader or security manager who's really carved out. And it's hard work to run a team that gets on, that delivers, that's, the sort of sometimes extreme management that you're having to operate under quite changeable circumstances. It's a team effort, and so it's your mindset as to what you're prepared to do, not prepared to do. So I think for me to actually sit here and say, what advice would I give to somebody wanting to work in this sector, or if that's even your question, is that it's the sum of the parts of the network that you're within right now. And I think LinkedIn is a good example of where you find your tribe and you find your community, and then you see other communities that you don't necessarily resonate with. That's just like being in a pub where you're with your friends and there's other people that you don't really want to talk to and hang out with. It's exactly the same sort of scenario. And I think in the professional context, I think there's perhaps too much of a focus on the word family office and not enough on I want to bring the best skill set to the party. So I'm going to specialize more in my medical delivery. I'm going to specialize in pediatric medical or emergency medical care, or I'm going to speak 5 languages, and I'm going to focus on being able to deliver great security in the mother tongue with 2 or more of the languages that my principal speaks in. Those are the kind of mindsets that I think are more helpful, because setting yourself up to work within a family office, no offense to my family office community, it can be disappointing, but I think the end goal should be your personal delivery and the standards set for yourself, the team you want to work around. And then if you end up working within a fantastic family office, that's great. But I think there are different ways to skin a cat, different types of offices, different types of private office. Some people might be more suited to working for a wide multi-generational dynastic family spanning, lots of different age groups. Others may want to work really small, really tight with just, a husband, wife, 2 children and a really manageable kind of infrastructure. Other people might really like the global travel piece. So I think, okay, if you're going to sort of put me on record as saying what would I say, I do think it's, don't set yourself up for a fall, because lots of travel can seem great, but when you're not traveling, seeing your own friends and family, that cannot be so great. So be careful what you wish for, and don't overlook the sort of roll your sleeves up mentality and the benefit of a sort of RST, a residential mindset, as being quite a stable profession. Particularly, I'm talking also with the lens of COVID, because obviously the close protection profession has been hit. It's been hit because people aren't going out as much. It's been hit because people aren't traveling as much. And as we all know, security is a heavily sort of consultant based economy. And therefore, there are a lot of people who are really fantastic top level close protection operatives that had a number of different clients who are now working in a residential capacity and actually really enjoying the shift from traveling all the time to actually staying in one place. But because it's called residential security, somehow it's sort of a lower tier. I would argue it's not. And that's sometimes how you can get to know family and wider team in a much better, much more coherent way. And I've seen the anecdotes I've heard of the last 9 months is that team members that would never normally otherwise have actually seen each other for any significant period of time have had a chance to actually talk about their different function and really have a respect for the security function, and vice versa for the household function or the childcare function. So I think stay in your skills lane and be the best at what you do, and aspire to work with the best team. Network amongst the best of your own network, and you will get there. But it's a case of roll your sleeves up mentality, which I think will Sean perhaps is nodding there.
Yeah, no, total agreement with a lot of what you've said there. You said be careful what you wish for, and I see that a lot. And a lot of people they say, such and such makes this much money, or such and such is on this gig. It's great. They're traveling all over these countries, and the grass isn't always greener. These people haven't seen their family for X amount of weeks, and I've spent years and years traveling around the world. Whilst it's been fantastic, some really great jobs. What you've just said there quite rang true with me as well. Some people who have stepped back onto lower jobs and they're enjoying taking their foot off the gas. And I think certainly, at some point in the future, we'll all look to wind down. Your career has a certain trajectory, and at some point, once you've had your foot on the gas too long, you go, right, quite happy, less responsibility. I just want to sit back.
COVID has given us a really amazing opportunity. If you look at the security as a wider sort of skill set, where we've now been. So health and safety for me has always been a separate function. Never before has being healthy and secure and safe been so important and has been sat under the remit of security. And so I think the role of post protection within the health and safety in its new iteration, its new meaning, keeping a family and its wider team healthy and safe is going to be a really very subtle but quite significant shift. And I think that's why I keep going on about medical training. I think those individuals who are going to set themselves apart to be able to look after the health and safety in equal measure of their principals and clients, I think they're going to be the ones who are going to see their skills really kind of quite highly prized, and that we are going to see a shift in one operative I have in mind who really enjoys working in the COVID testing facilities near to his home because he can be near home. And it doesn't matter that he's taken a hit on London salary and, he doesn't travel anymore. He's able to be near home and he's part of the security team to protect health. And I just love that as a sort of an outcome. It's not one we would have planned. I'm not saying this year hasn't been incredibly tough. Isn't that a really nice sort of next generation iteration of what security and post protection could actually be known as, is that protection of health and safety, which before, as I say, I always used to, health and safety, very important, obviously. But that for me has been a real big takeaway for this year.
Awesome. No, I think excellent sentiments. And it's great to have Sean here on the call because, of course, your experience is a great duet, to Kate's. So I'm really pleased we managed to get everyone together for this. Kate, what's next for you?
Sleeping till 2022. No. Next for me and the business. Well, it's some pretty outrageous targets we've set for ourselves for next year. Both in terms as a business to really sort of underscore our international partnerships. We weren't able to actually physically be. I'm a real old school human eyeball to eyeball kind of girl, and so I'm looking forward to picking back up to actually seeing our family teams and our collaborative teams in all of the various parts of the world. Because I think although the world has instantly become online and smaller, I think we still need to make the effort and be in places that our clients and our colleagues are. I really want to sort of underscore the work I'm doing within the business, but also looking at how I can be most use in a vocal sense, in a positive vocal sense, I'm really enjoying talking more about how the industry can start to really champion its own self. And I'm really looking to sort of seek out voices. And so, I'm really grateful to you guys to having me on. And I'll keep you posted of the amazing people I find along the way, because I find the industry and this secure lifestyle niche we're carving out. We're having to, I use it at the start, I'm seeking out amazing humans for and on behalf of my clients. And I really want to celebrate those that want celebrating. And I think that in a sort of legacy, what do I want to leave behind? It's a business that cared and that put great people with great opportunities. And that, if they did come to me and say, I really want to work with X, Y, Z type of family because of X, Y, and Z, I'd do all I can to activate my teams and my connections and join the dots for them. So I guess it's keeping going and pushing on the legacy of really helping to tangibly improve and raise and promote an industry that so desperately needs it. And I think this year has been a really important turning point for close protection as a function. And I hope that we can take what we've learned from this year, and I'll carry on banging the drum. But for me, it's to keep growing the business, keep that international mindset, not just to live in. We've all been locked away in our little sort of square feet of life, and I think it's really important for us as a business to get back out there and keep that international push, and also to keep shining a light on the amazing men and women in the industry and give them the airtime that they deserve.
Awesome. Well, Kate, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to welcome you, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
So it's awesome to catch up with Kate. I really think that journey is one that can teach us a lot about the industry, especially coming from one side to another. What were your thoughts, Sean?
No, I agree. I love hearing from Kate and seeing what she's done from the first time I met her many years ago, operating in a space I know really well, and what she's done, what she's gone on to achieve with her business. So I thought it was fantastic. And I'm looking forward to seeing what UMBRA International achieve moving forward.
Absolutely. And I hope to include Kate on a number of events coming up. Certainly, there's been a lot of interest, especially since that initial article all those years ago. I see that our friends in Conversations in Close Protection have picked up on that and just did an excellent session with Kate. So very much in demand. We're very, very pleased to have been able to capture that moment. What's next? What have we got coming up for the magazine and the BBA?
Well, we have issue 56 of the circuit now available. And we also have our event coming up, Inspiring Individuals, Overcoming Adversity, with the Circuit magazine on the 4th of March. I don't know if you want to say a little bit about that, Callum?
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very kindly supported by Enablement Advisors, Ivor Terrett. We're going to be taking some wonderful stories of people who've really hit hardship. For example, maybe they have saved people and that's caused them great distress or perhaps injury, or they've overcome really, really difficult situations. Because I think it's all well and good to have content out there about shooting proficiency or driving proficiency, do your job better. But there's maybe not enough of this motivational sort of style to sort of bring people to life themselves. And there's a lot of people in the industry that really deserve a lot of credit. They need a more of a platform. So we're very, very pleased on the 4th of March in what would be the UK afternoon and the PST morning to sort of really strike at this very topic. Not just inspiring individuals, but that key caveat, overcoming adversity. Really looking forward to it. So this has been a fantastic edition of the Circuit Magazine podcast, transitioning from PA to EP and the family office as a whole. What a topic. We're going to see it emerge as perhaps one of the defining features of the lockdown. So from Sean and myself, we look forward to seeing you next week for another great edition of the Circuit Magazine podcast.
You have been listening to the Circuit Magazine podcast. Be sure to subscribe and be sure to not miss an episode.